Today we're going to show you around the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Masada, located in Israel near the Dead Sea. The park has a very nice visitor center. On the left there you saw a quick shot of its very nice gift shop. Here you see a few of the artifacts that have been retrieved from the area during the excavations. All of this leads up to the gondola ride that gets you up to the top of Masada. You can also hike up the snake trail on the east side or hike up the Roman siege ramp on the west side. I do want to mention that this video is not intended to be a history lesson on the events of Masada, only a preview of what you'll see on your visit. Before we go any further, I do want to mention our fabulous tour guide we had for this trip, Philip Cool, who you see here on the right. If you're planning a trip to Israel and not sure who to book to be your tour guide, I highly recommend Philip. You will not be disappointed. I will put a link to his website in the description below. The top of Masada is just a big, vast, open, flat area. Our guide Philip did tell us that back in King Herod's day, they actually did plant crops up there, which is kind of amazing to think about that. And this is the quarry on top of Masada. All the stones that were used for construction were mined from this quarry. Here are some of the very first buildings we got to actually walk through. Inside you will see frescoes from the original construction 2,000 years ago. A question that comes to mind is, what's the black line on the wall for? Everything below the black line is original. Everything above the black line was restored during the excavation. And these are the storage rooms. They're long, rectangular shaped buildings. The one we're walking on here has been cleared out to turn into a sidewalk. Currently to the side there you'll see the other storage rooms that have been left as they were found. From this point you get a better view of the storage rooms. You see how many there are, and just imagine all of them filled with grain and wine and weapons and everything else that would have been kept there back when it was a functional facility. From this vantage point, you can see part of the wall the Romans built around Masada during the siege. In the lower right corner there, you see two square areas that were small forts the Romans built for the siege. Off in the far distance, you get a view of the Dead Sea. This is part of the upper terrace of King Herod's palace on the very northern tip of the plateau of Masada, and you can still see some of the original mosaics on the floor. This is a model that shows how the palace would have looked when it was originally constructed by King Herod. And of course, no palace from Roman times would be complete without a bathhouse, and that's what you see here. There's changing rooms with the original frescoes still on the wall from over 2,000 years ago. Had a nice cool dipping pool, and as you go through this rather narrow and short entrance here, you come into the hot room. I personally don't see the need for a hot room in the desert, but I'm not a Roman either. The next part of this tour is optional. Some visitors who have a fear of heights may want to skip this part. This point leads to a series of stairs and catwalks that lead around the western edge of Masada to the two lower levels of King Herod's palace. The large square you see off in the distance are the remnants of the walls of the fort the Romans built during the siege. The smaller square in the corner are the walls of the fort after the siege was over the occupying force used. The views along this entire system of catwalks and stairs is simply amazing. You have to stop every once in a while and just soak it all in. Once you cross over this catwalk bridge, you come to the mid-level of King Herod's palace. Unfortunately, you're not allowed to actually walk around this level. However, I did get a picture of it from above. From there, it's not much further down to get to the lower level of King Herod's palace. Here we've reached the lowest level of King Herod's palace, and once we turn this corner, off in the distance, the Dead Sea comes into view. Now, back in King Herod's day, the Dead Sea would have been much larger and the water would have been much closer. We were told this part of the palace would have been his private residence. Of course, once you have completed your visit to the lowest level of King Herod's palace, then comes the trek back up those exact same stairs and catwalks to get back to the top of the plateau. I do want to give you a little taste and an idea of how much climbing you'll have to do to get back up onto the top of the plateau, but in the interest of time, I will speed up the next two clips. And now we're back on top of the plateau, and the second here you'll see one of the cisterns that supplied the water for the whole facility. The roof has collapsed long ago on this cistern, but it gives you an idea of how large they were, and there were several of them here on Masada. I want to thank you for watching the video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'll be doing a series of videos on our trip to Israel, documenting several national parks and other scenes around the country. I will close out this video with a quick shot of the siege ramp the Romans built to break in the walls of Masada. And once again, thanks for watching. See you on the next video.